Welcome back, my dear students. Today we are going to explore the exoskeleton of birds. The birds have well-developed exoskeletal system which serves many functions such as protection of body form, temperature fluctuations of environment, radiations and mechanical injuries of various sorts. Further, it makes the body of bird well adapted for aerial mode of flight. So let's begin. Exoskeleton of birds, nature's armor and tools. The exoskeleton in birds is like a built-in toolkit made by the epidermis. It includes horny claws, sharp beaks, protective spurs, useful webs, shiny scales, and of course, beautiful feathers. Let's break it down. Scales, which is the hidden link to reptiles. Look closely at a bird's feet. You see uh, shiny, hard scales covering the shanks and toes, and sometimes tiny ones near the base of the beak. These tough scales come from the stratum germinativum, the skin's growing layer, and acts as a natural shield. Birds shed and replace their scales through molting, just like reptiles. A clue that birds are the modern relatives of ancient reptiles. Beaks. It's a multi-tool. A bird's beak is more than just for eating. It's a horny cover over the jaws called the rhamphotheca. Birds use the beaks to grab food, preen feathers, to stay clean and waterproof, and sometimes for defense. From the hooked beak of an eagle to the flat bill of a duck, the beak is perfectly shaped for each bird's lifestyle. Claws, the grippers. Look at a bird's toes. At the tip are claws, sharp and pointed like tiny daggers. These are pure exoskeleton magic. Hard, horny structures that help birds grip branches, catch prey, walk or scratch the ground. Their design is very similar to reptile claws, another proof of their ancient lineage. Webs, the swimming fins. Ever seen a duck's feet? Those stretchy waves between their toes act like paddles. Webbed feet help birds swim smoothly in water. Ducks, swans, geese, pelicans and cormorants are champions at this stage. Fun fact, in cormorants the weaving stretches overall 4 toes, sometimes leaving the tiny hallux or back toe free. Spurs, the hidden weapon. In birds like male fowls or roosters, there is a sharp spur on the leg, a bony outgrowth covered with a hard sheath. This works like a built-in dagger for defense and fighting rivals. Some birds like plovers even have spurs on their wings, a surprise punch for anyone who messes with them. Feathers. Feathers are the characteristic feature of birds and represent one of the most specialized integumentary derivatives among vertebrates. Besides making birds capable of flight, feathers protect the body, maintain temperature, aid in camouflage and play vital roles in communication and reproduction. To understand the structure of a feather, we generally study a typical contour feather which is present over most of the body. Structure of a typical feather. A typical feather consists of two major parts, that is scapus or axis and vein or vexillum. The scapus forms the central supporting axis of the feather. It is divided into two regions, calamus or quill. The calamus is the hollow basal portion of the feather. It remains inserted into a feather follicle in the skin. Small muscles attached to the follicle enable individual feather movement. The lower opening is called inferior umbilicus, through which the dermal papilla supplies nutrients and pigments during feather development. Near the junction of the calamus and rachis lies another opening called the superior umbilicus. This is the image. In some birds such as pigeons, a small tuft or soft feathers called the aftershaft or hyporachis arises near this opening. Interestingly, in flightless birds like emu and cassowary, the aftershaft may become almost as long as the main feather. Rachis. Above the calamus lies the rachis. Unlike the hollow calamus, the rachis is solid and forms the central supporting shaft of the feather. Internally, it contains pith cells and bears a longitudinal groove known as the umbilical groove. The rachis supports the broad expanded vein. This is the anterior vein and this is posterior vein. Vein or vexillum. The vein is the flattened, expanded portion on either side of the rachis. Each vein consists of hundreds of parallel branches called bulbs. Every bulb bears numerous tiny branches called barbules. There are two types of barbules, proximal barbules and distal barbules. The distal barbules possesses minute hooklets known as hemuli. These hooklets interlock with grooves present on adjacent proximal barb. This indigenous locking mechanism creates a continuous, flexible surface essential for efficient flight. Whenever these hooklets separate, birds restore them preening. However, birds such as ostriches and kiwis lack this interlocking mechanism, making their feathers softer and unsuitable for flight. Molting. Feathers do not last forever. Birds periodically shed old feathers and replace them with new ones through a process known as molting. Usually molting occurs once every year after the breeding season. This process is mainly regulated by thyroid hormones. Types of feathers. Birds' feathers are modified into different forms depending upon their functions. Let's discuss them one by one. Quill or flight feathers. These are the strongest feathers and possess a well-developed rachis. They are subdivided into remiges located on the wings. They are responsible for flight. Each pigeon possesses 23 remiges, and these are further classified into primaries, secondaries and digitals. Together they generate lift and propulsion during flight. Rectrices, these are tail feathers. A pigeon usually has 12 rectrices. Functions include steering, balancing, braking during landing. Thus rectrices function much like the rudder of an aircraft. Coverts, there are smaller feathers covering the bases of remiges and rectrices. They smooth the wing surface and reduce air turbulence. Contour feathers, these cover the general body surface. Besides giving birds their streamlined shape, contour feathers also help conserve body heat. This is the images showing the wing feather, down feather, tail feather, contour feather, semiplume, bristle and filoplumes. So what are filoplumes? Filoplumes are delicate hair-like feathers. They possess a long rachis with only a few terminal barbs. These feathers mainly function as sensory receptors, monitoring the movement and position of neighboring feathers. These are down feathers. Down feathers are called as plumules. They are externally soft and fluffy. They lack a true rachis. Young birds initially covered by down feathers called nestling down. In adult aquatic birds like ducks and swans, down feathers persist beneath contour feathers, forming an excellent insulating layer that conserves body heat. Powder down feathers, these specialized feathers continuously disintegrate into fine powder. This powder cleans, waterproofs and conditions the plumage. They are especially common in herons, parrots, cockatoos and pigeons. Rictal bristles. These stiff hair-like feathers occur around the beak and eyes. They probably protect the face and help birds detect insects during their flight. Pterylosis. Pterylosis is a characteristic arrangement or distribution of feathers on a bird's body. In most birds, feathers are not uniformly distributed but are confined to distinct feather-bearing tracts called pteryli, which are separated by featherless regions known as ateria. This specialized pattern of feather distribution reduces body weight, enhances flexibility and improves aerodynamic efficiency, thereby facilitating effective flight. So functions of feathers are it gives protection, provide heat insulation, helps in flight, uh, camouflage, protecting from the predators. They responsible for sexual display, helps in nest building and other functions, helps identify species, reduce parasite infestation and provide support during climbing like woodpeckers, and it has commercial uses in pillows and cushions. So my dear students, what did we learn today? Birds are warm-blooded vertebrates uniquely adapted flight with feathers, wings, hollow bones and efficient lungs with air sacs. We also explored their classification. So if you enjoyed this lesson, like, share and subscribe for more zoology classes. Keep learning, keep growing with biology, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.